Positive Momentum. This is Todd. I'll be your host. And I want to talk about a topic today involving a common symptom of what is of a lot of different disorders, psychiatric disorders, generally speaking. So, generally speaking, a psychiatric term is the term is pressured speech. Pressured speech. So, let me show you what pressured speech is. Pressured speech is like, and I really need to tell you, and I know everything's happening, and it's all going down, and then no one's listening to me, and I can't really understand what's happening, and usually, so generally, that's the way you felt when I did that is typically, but it doesn't necessarily have to be as overt as that or rambling. It can be, even now, the way I'm speaking to you, could be read as pressured speech, which I understand. It's pressured, which is, it's axiomatic. What is pressured speech? And it is often used to employ diagnosis. Well, I think it's among the first symptoms that a professional will tick off in their head. And then the reason why I guess I object to it being a symptom is that what else is pressured speech a symptom of, aside from psychiatric illness? And here's the reason why this is important. Because if it's something fairly common or normal, then that means that it's not fit to be an indicator in and of itself as a psychiatric disorder, such as bipolar disorder or any other disorder, or paranoia, or schizophrenia, etc., etc. So pressured speech also might come from a 911 call, right? My husband was murdered. That you might expect pressured speech on a 911 call of that sort, right? I hope you can follow along. And other ways, other people that we might see pressured speech from, congressmen and notable people under pressure, who are, being interviewed, who are doing press conferences, who are in the limelight for not such good reasons, even in the limelight for good reasons. Pressured speech is not an uncommon symptom. Also, if you are in a psychiatric appointment and you know that you only have 15 minutes, that's usually what the amount of time you're given is, you might feel pressured to say everything that's happening to you so that the doctor can understand and treat you based on what you said. Except what happens is the doctors think they know better than their patients, and they use diagnostics like pressured speech, which could be an indicator of discomfort, of feeling put upon by something like a psychiatric appointment for ADHD medication, for one example. It could be any type of coerced interaction that one doesn't want to partake in, but must in order to pursue their life to their fullest. it should no longer be acceptable for psychiatrists to sit there and judge the patients. I honestly, I think they need to be rolled back a lot. I think that Med Circle should be put out of business. I have had 2 appointments with them in the past month, and they've both been with nurse practitioners. The nurse practitioners, not even psychiatrists. These are 2 psychiatric appointments, and both are with nurse practitioners who you know, I didn't particularly. The second one, I did like her, but I found myself in a tight spot, needing a medication, and requesting said medication, and describing the reasons I needed said medication immediately, and why and the reasons that I gave, which I backed up with documentation, it's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable for a psychiatric care provider. It's unacceptable for them to be even accepting patients. Honestly, if they can't, look, they're not psychiatrists. Why are they even doing this? Med Circle, why are you handing off psychiatric appointments to nurse practitioners at all? You shouldn't be. They're not doctors. What do you typically assume you're going to get when you get a psychiatric care meeting? A doctor. Who do you get? A nurse practitioner. Additionally, the patient knows best, and there's a lot, the whole concept of these people being educated as such and controlling substances, controlled substances, is, I think, inappropriate. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's unfair, and I think it's to the detriment of the good people out there, and I think it's to the detriment of the rights of an American citizen. And because of that system, there actually is a bigger drug trade in America. So America is actually perpetuating a bigger drug trade in America because doctors are not willing to just give to patients, because doctors who have prescribed absurd amounts of pills have ruined the entire industry. And because of that, Americans are forced to pay. But it seems to me that doctors should be forced to pay, not Americans. And there's not any good word to say. I don't respect what you have to say. There's no good way to express that, and it's not always what you mean either. But trying to think what I think. You were wrong. Even though you did everything right, you were wrong. You were wrong. Just because that's what you do what you're told to do, doesn't mean that you've done right. And what is right and wrong? Well, there's right in the sense of morality, and then there's right in the sense of order, procedure. But following unethical procedures is wrong. And I believe Americans deserve more respect than we're given by authorities. A lot. I do believe that. I think that authorities have taken too much authority, and I mean that in terms of police. I mean that in terms of doctors, and I think that people know what they need, and these systems sometimes get in the way, and it's not really okay. It's reprehensible. It's a reprehensible system, and to abide it is reprehensible, and I don't think the people that abide it are reprehensible, but I do think that the abiding of a system like that is reprehensible, especially when you realize how little you know about another person, which is nothing. Nothing. You know nothing about a person tangibly. But I guess just my heart aches. My heart aches for justice. It really hurts. It really I don't know. Will justice come? What is justice? And I admit I'm faulty myself. I'm not an expert on justice. I'm a novice, as I always shall be. I just think maybe the psychiatrist should be at pharmacies where you go, and then they dispense your medication right there. They're people you trust, not people who are people you trust. How the fuck would anybody else know what I need and what I don't? Who better than me? Who better than me? And a third amended complaint is filed, and I have a psychiatrist completely dismissing that it's real. And then so does my bully does the same thing, the person who's filed against. And it's a strange confluence, but it's absolutely a coincidence. It's a coincidence. So you have my primary bully who has said that it is just not taking it seriously. And then you have a psychiatrist saying that she doesn't take it seriously. You know? Does that mean I have to decide and agree with them? No, it doesn't. It does not mean that. It means that I need to keep reflecting and see what I think as I go. And when it becomes important enough, when it hits me or strikes me, when the scale of justice, so to speak, has been balanced out on the issue, and I realize this is something tenable or non-reprehensible, or this is reprehensible and non-tenable. That's when you begin to strike a move in any given situation. And that doesn't mean that that move is going to lead to action. It means that the move is going to lead to more actions, but not necessarily the ones that you want right away. Does a man own his own thoughts? Yes or no? Does a man own his own thoughts? Does a man own his own thoughts? That's one question. Then the other question is, can that man be charged with possession of said thoughts? So does a man own his own thoughts? Does he? I mean, really, does he? What are thoughts? Are there the words that are spoken to reflect thoughts? Or are they the vibrations that happen prior to the articulation of said thought? And if you have a thought, can you be charged with it? Are you legally liable for it in any situation? I think that would be a very hard one to answer. It's sort of like I don't know. Because if your answer is I murdered that guy, and that's your thought, if you own that thought, no, you can't be charged with that because you have to have done it. So it doesn't. Your thoughts are not chargeable. You can't be charged for your thoughts, nor do you own them. Actually, you own the anything you do to reflect those thoughts. So if you make a painting or you sing a song, and that's about those thoughts, then you own that. But you don't own the thought itself, because you can't be charged for it. And if you can't be charged for it, then you can't own it. Because ownership has basically all about liability and the law. Ownership in and of itself dictates law. That's what I say. Possession is 9/10 of the law, which is funny. If you possess a thought, can you be charged with it? Well, if you do a confession, people will look at that as you having had the thought of you did it. So that thought belonged to you. That has incriminated people enough to get them in jail. So that's true. But it's also been proven that people were coerced into confessions. And that's true too. So is the law? No. It's all it's like a roulette table in some ways, because everyone's got a different way of thinking.